Witajcie Katowice, witajcie na Intel Extreme Masters Katowice!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome wherever you are around the world right now. Thank you for tuning in to ESL TV. This is the Intel Extreme Masters Season 7 Katowice, coming live from the Spodek in Poland. First up, before we get into today's play, let's bring out a man who has made all of this possible, who got a little bit emotional yesterday because this means quite a lot to him. It is, of course, the Director of Pro Gaming at the Intel Extreme Masters, Michał Blikas.
Karmak, zapraszamy!
Michał, how was yesterday for you at the Intel Extreme Masters?
A daydream, seriously a daydream, absolutely epic. I have to say we're opening the StarCraft part of the show. I tweeted it yesterday. Who doesn't follow me on Twitter should, first of all, but whoever doesn't follow me on Twitter, I wrote that the League of, sorry, not the League of Legends.
Careful now.
As far as StarCraft audiences go and esports audiences go, I think the Polish StarCraft 2 audience is the most mature, cultured, educated, and fantastic audience I have ever seen.
They are an absolutely fantastic audience. How about something for the Polish people?
Michał, jest wspaniale, jest super, powiedz mi, będzie jeszcze lepiej?
No, oni tam siedzą, na pewno zadbają o to, żeby było lepiej. I jeszcze raz poproszę, wiem, że było super wczoraj, ale przepraszam, nie Wojtkowi, Grzesiowi kibicujemy, ale dajcie też zapamiętać wszystkim cudzoziemcom, nawet jeżeli pokonają Polaków, że tu są mile widziani.
Liczymy na was!
Thank you very much, Michał. We'll get him back tomorrow when the finals start. Today, of course, is the bracket day. It's the start of the knockout phase. So let's kick things off with our first match of the day. We're not going to waste any more time. We're going to get straight into the action for StarCraft 2. Please make a lot of noise for Team Liquid's TLO!
Zapraszamy graczy pierwszej pary dzisiejszego dnia!
And he goes up against a familiar foe. He's on home soil in Poland. It's MaNa!
Zapraszamy!
Okay, we're going to start with Dario. Focus, Dario, focus. Okay, you had a good day yesterday, a good day in the open bracket as well. You seem to be playing really well. How deep can you go into this tournament?
As deep as it goes. I don't know, like, I think I can beat MaNa. I have a pretty good winning record against him. Sorry, Poland. But it's gonna be hard for sure. He's a good Protoss player and I'll try my best.
How's the Zerg stuff treating you now?
I don't really care about the patch, so I don't know. I didn't make that many infestors before anyways, so who cares, man? I'm just gonna play as good as I can and I don't think about balance or whatever.
All right, well, good luck.
MaNa, yesterday was a pretty tiring day, long day for all of us, lots of games to be played. How do you feel going today? Are you rested enough? Do you feel strong enough to take it down?
I think I feel relaxed now, although I am a little bit stressed. My hands are again very cold. I hope I will get used to the environment over here during the best of 5. Hopefully I can show some good games and of course win versus TLO, the patch Zerg.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Gentlemen, shake hands.
Good luck, guys.
Best of luck. Our first matchup is just about ready to rock and roll. We'll give those guys a couple of minutes to warm up. It is TLO versus MaNa. And here's 3 gentlemen that will dissect it all for you and give you all the detail, all the gossip, and all the strategies. It is, of course, our analyst desk with Todd, QXC, and the wonderful Mr. Jarrett Kale.
Oddajemy głos naszym ekspertom.
Thank you, Paul. Welcome back to the analysis desk of Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Off camera, I do it 100% every time. Ask any Polish person. Katowice. Thank you. I am so excited for the games today, man. I think qualifiers are cool. They're cool. Group stages, they're super neat. This is it. This is the tournament bracket. In fact, if we could bring up the bracket, let's take a look at what we're about to see today. Super, super cool stuff. Our opening match, TLO MaNa. Awesome. I'm so excited, man. PVZ. MaNa, one of my favorite foreign players.
Okay,
TLO,
so best matches here, matches to watch out for.
Yeah.
TLO MaNa.
Yep.
That's going to be super sick.
So sick.
And then Lucifer on Cass, look at that, 2 Terrans. Then later on we have Dream versus someone.
Another first TVT of the whole tournament.
Yeah, first TVT. I think even in open bracket. I don't think we
Nope,
even
not
saw.
a single TVT in this tournament.
Then Dream, another Terran player, will be playing someone.
No, Daisy against
Well,
Nurture.
Daisy Nurchio.
Oh, I was just pointing out the Terran matches.
Oh, okay.
And then Yoda Grubby, that should be a really good match as well.
Oh, that's going to be disgusting.
I'm really...
Disgustingly good.
Disgustingly good. When I say disgusting, I mean good.
I really want to see Nurchio Daisy. I really think Nurchio can take him down. Daisy's been playing pretty well at this tournament. He opened up with his group very strong, and then kind of, like we saw him, he was like doing so well, I thought for sure Daisy was going to go 5-0.
Yep.
And then went into 3-2.
Yep.
And
The only player, actually 2 players went 5-0. One of them, I guess, first, great Protoss, incredible miracle, of course. The other player to go 5-0, little surprising, Zokke. Went 5-0 yesterday.
Yeah.
Crushing faces.
Definitely see Zokke puts on a lot of good performances. He's had a couple tournaments where he hasn't really put out good results, and so every time I see him at an event, I think, like, which Zokke are we going to see? And this one, we seem to be seeing a Zokke in top form.
Yep. We had dinner with him last night, and I learned what his name means, because I thought, hey, it's kind of funny, because in English it looks like sock, like a sock you put on your feet, and that's kind of a weird name. And he said, yeah, that's what it means. So Zokke means sock.
In German.
In German.
Yeah.
Just sock, like you put on your feet. So it's awkward conversation, but that's what his name means if you didn't know that. Do you want to get back to MaNa TLO?
Yeah, what do you think about MaNa TLO?
It's a very hard to call match in my opinion. It's very open. It's really going to be about who plays better today. Both of them play pretty much standard. As far as I know, we know that MaNa is capable of going for the Immortal push, but these days he's been doing that a lot less. I've seen him doing a lot of openers with Phoenixes and then 3-base timings. And TLO, he likes to play very standard as well. Take a 3rd base, drone up, get his roaches, get his drones, go into hive. So I think it's really going to come down to who really plays better in those standard games. But we might see a couple all-ins. This is a best of 5, so
yeah,
no more best of 3s here. They can try stuff actually.
I would not be surprised to see at least a 10 pool. I don't know. Does MaNa ever do proxy gate or cannon rush type stuff?
No.
Not really.
Almost never, I feel.
Okay. So maybe we'll see more of the 2-base timings, something like what we saw Verdi do.
3-base, I think.
You think just 3-base?
MaNa is more of a 3-base guy. If he's on 2 bases, it's only going to be Immortal push. Okay. So depending on the maps, once we know the map,
we have the maps. We have the maps.
We have the maps. Cloud Kingdom is our first map. It'll be Antiga after that, Entomb Valley, Daybreak, and then Ohana. All 5 maps. Best of 5s all throughout today, by the way, how it should be. Carmack knows how to put on a tournament. I love the way the Intel Extreme Masters is set up.
The format is great.
Going into best of 5s at this point in the tournament makes a whole lot of sense. It really allows the better player to come out. You eliminate some of this random kind of variable.
There's a lot of variance in a best of 3.
Yep.
Yep.
There are a lot of situations where, something you didn't expect, something a little weird takes you off guard. Maybe you make 1 or 2 little mistakes, and all of a sudden you are on the ropes. You're down 0-1.
Exactly.
And then at that point it's like, well, one more little mistake and the game is over. But best of 5, much more forgiving, much more permitting, especially for the player who is able to adapt to what his opponent is doing. The person who is able to figure out what their opponent is about, how they think, they get a tremendous advantage in the best of 5. You get more time to see what your opponent's doing, to see how he's going to react to what you're doing.
There's more mind games. You have more builds you can bring out. Right? It's great. And I'm so excited.
We saw the players
so excited.
here.
I'm pumped. I don't know if you can tell.
See the what?
We saw the players here on the screen for a minute, and it really got me thinking about how far, a long way TLO has come, mindset-wise. Like MaNa, he's always been very solid at tournaments, but TLO, he had a period where he was really having a hard time, and now these days, he's such a strong player. He lived in Korea, he practiced so much there, and he has such a great mindset. He always conditions himself almost perfectly. Look at this. He's giving himself a massage for his arms before the game.
He's warming his forearms up, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty pro. He was a close call for him getting through yesterday, right? He was in Grubby's group.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Moonglade.
I think he was like 1 or 2 maps.
Might have been on maps. Yeah,
from
did he
not
come through?
making it.
Him and Grubby squeaked through, and poor Moonglade, poor Australians, didn't quite make it through.
Yeah.
But these players are in game. They're done warming up their forearms. Our casters are ready. And I think this Polish audience is very ready. Do you want to give it up, Polish audience, for MaNa?
Get him, MaNa.
And let's be nice and cheer for TLO too. What do you think? TLO. Not quite the same volume. All right, guys. The game's loading. take it over to our casters, so I have to look over and see who's starting the day. Oh, Cal Diesel and the lovely Apollo. Take it away, guys.
Jak się macie, Polacy, and welcome to game number 1 today. With me is Apollo, I'm Calder, and we are excited for the first game.
I am stoked for this first game, TLO against MaNa. It can't get better than this to begin day 3 here at the Intel Extreme Masters.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really exciting. We have Germany versus Poland, Zerg versus Protoss. And the game is live. We are starting today on Cloud Kingdom, a really good map for Protoss versus Zerg. And starting to the top right, we have our player from Germany. In blue, we have Team Liquid's TLO. Starting to the bottom left of the map is his opponent. One of 2 Polish players in the bracket is Mousesports MaNa.
A great roar from the Polish crowd once again supporting their favorite, their Polish player. And you can hear them in the back there chanting MaNa as well, right behind their player. This is going to be a great best of 5. Remember, we've gone past the best of 3 series now. It's all about the best of 5. And these 2 players have had a history together, Caldor. They've played a lot against each other. And as the analyst said, it is always an equal fight.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an exciting match. MaNa and TLO have met each other several times. In total, I have them with 14 recorded maps and televised matches. And TLO was right when he said earlier that he has a really good win record against MaNa. 60% of the matches ended in his favor. And so did the last few encounters that they had. TLO won the last 3 best of 3s with a 2-1.
That's right, so anything and everything to play for here. And we already see TLO opening with a 14 spawning pool here, a little bit different towards the usual 15, and that is going to give him an option for potential slight aggression early on. He can have the option to go 6 Zerglings to put pressure onto MaNa, who on this kind of map is going to be looking for a Nexus first. And there goes the probe, there leaves the probe from the main base, heading straight towards that natural location.
At the same time, MaNa, of course, just trying to delay the expansion of his opponent for as long as possible with his own probe. And for him, a matchup against Zerg is also about mind games and about the right mindset. His problem is that this is really his weakest matchup. He has a 58% win ratio against Protoss, 62% against Terran. But versus Zerg, he's at 47%. And his mind is really affected by all these losses, especially since a lot of them are just because of small things, like forgetting to put a Zealot on hold position in the wall. This is like the key mistake that he makes so often and that he was working on while he was in Korea. He's gotten a lot better, but it still affects his play sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, MaNa had a great 2012, probably one of the most successful players that were in the foreign scene last year. He had such a fantastic set of finishes, whether it be 2nd place, 3rd place, top 8 finishes, but then all of a sudden he hit his stride, especially at DreamHack Summer, where he was able to pick up his first StarCraft 2 victory. And then, once again, in the later stages of 2012, was able to win ESWC as well. 2 tournament wins last year. And now in 2013, definitely looking to see if he can peg a win early on here.
And you know, you mentioned DreamHack Summer, and this was one of the events where he faced so many good Zerg players.
Yeah.
He beat Dimaga in the finals, he faced Stefano and took him down when Stefano was at his peak, when he was so unbelievably good against Protoss, and MaNa was able, with an Immortal push, with a couple of 2-base timings, to just take the Zerg player down. Really well played. So this was one of those tournaments that gave him a lot of confidence and a boost. Last year, definitely a really good one for the Polish player. Now we have 2013, and it starts off with an event in his home country.
That's right, but TLO, on the other hand, you know, had a pretty decent year as well last year. It wasn't as successful as MaNa's, but if you know, what do you call successful? If you look at TLO and look from his perspective, it was a very, very successful year. In terms of global winnings and tournament prize money and so on, maybe not. But if you look at TLO, he went through a lot of rebuilding. He rebuilt himself as a player. He went back to the same form he was at the beginning of time, if not stronger. Now, he was able to get consistent finishes, top 8, top 16 at a lot of big tournaments, even managing to take maps away from, you know, big players like MC, finished top 8 at the Home Story Cup, the latest Home Story Cup as well. So, been playing absolutely amazing as well. And we're about to see who can make it to the top 8 here today. Remember, this is the round of 12. 12 players are left in the Intel Extreme Masters. One of them's going home right here.
And TLO is always one of these players who was really innovative. This is why he was so strong in the beta, after the beta as well, and he never really stops to amaze. He had those creep spats that he started with the hatch cancel, then with the queens. He has all these tiny little things that just put him away from the crowd. He goes for Overlord drops, will always send a few Overlords in your main base that don't contain any units at all, just to keep you on your toes, just to make sure that the Protoss player can never get in this position where he has a quiet state of mind and can focus on the game. He always is in a position where he can put pressure on you, maybe with the Nidus, a forward Nidus, those Overlord drops. Whatever it is, TLO will find a way to unnerve you.
And what we can see from MaNa so far in this game is he's actually focused a lot more on pro production, and he's got hardly any chrono boost left. So when you don't really have any chrono boost left here, I think here that we're going to be seeing a more macro play. I think he's going to slowly look to take a third base. He's chrono boosting into that +1, which is a little bit surprising actually, just getting a glimpse of that, and we'll see what that's going to develop into. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we do have double evolution chamber down for TLO, looking to get double upgrades right off the bat here. There's a Twilight Council coming down for MaNa, so it should be so he can look towards +2 and very shortly look towards taking the third base.
Exactly. He's preparing everything for this third Nexus now. We have him with the Robo, we have him with the Twilight Council, and this is the style that he really wanted to play against TLO. In the past, he played a lot of 2-base timings against his opponent, and he was not too successful with it, so this time he wants to aim for the macro game. Rather hit more like a 3-base timing here. Of course, you always want to prevent your opponent from getting into the Broodlord tech. You need to pressure him a little bit, and those pre-Broodlord timings are just so strong if you execute them correctly.
Well, right now we are having MaNa be sitting on 6 gateways. He has +2 starting, and his Twilight Council just finished. And I'm sure with that Twilight Council, we'll see if he researches Blink or not, or whether he's going to get Immortals. And there is the Immortal coming down. So still feeling like this should be an expansion build from MaNa. But TLO, on the other hand, has picked up a 4th expansion relatively fast, is sitting at 57 drones, does have Spore Crawlers coming down as well, kind of preparing overall, but I really like the fact that he's gone Ling heavy. He's got melee and carapace, he's got a Baneling Nest coming down as well, and this is going to give him a lot of aggressive and defensive options going into the mid stages of this game.
Yeah, TLO completely dropped the Roach Run. He didn't go for a Roach Run response against an opponent. This is one of those styles that we've seen from Dimaga. Life was using the style on Cloud Kingdom when he was facing Parting in the Blizzard Cup Finals, so we have these early upgrades for him. Now this Baneling Nest, and this will definitely help him against the gateway units, whereas MaNa will have to rely on perfect force fields to make sure that aggression by TLO is easily thwarted. And here comes immediately the drop upgrade that we talked about earlier in this game.
Yeah, the drop upgrade, so we are going to see, well, there's a couple of things we're going to see. Either 1 or 2. 1 is that TLO looks for a big assault on this third base. Overlords, Overlord speed, dropping Banelings with his 1-1, or he starts to drone intensively, which we're seeing now 10 drones coming in, and then he's only going to use the Overlords for slight aggression by dropping into the Mineralized, looking to hurt MaNa's economy here. Those are the 2 branches which TLO has to think about, and he's currently sitting at 73 drones. He should be looking to get 2-2 immediately and only use this for slight aggression. We'll see if he's going to try and break down this natural aid, but right now, MaNa doesn't really have anything to deal with this composition. Ling heavy, Baneling heavy. He doesn't have any splash damage, he doesn't have a Robo Bay, doesn't have Colossus.
And for MaNa, this is going to be really difficult to deal with. The TLO is just continuing rolling Overlords in his opponent's base, some of them containing Banelings, other ones just a few Zerglings or nothing at all. MaNa will always have to find a way to deal with those immediately. And TLO is a player that goes for the multi-prong aggression. Still trying to put some pressure onto this third base, trying to force a cancel here. MaNa in a good position though for the defense, but at the same time, with the Overlord drop upgrade now finishing, TLO suddenly has a weapon at hand that he can use to go for massive drops at the natural, at the third base, into the main. And on the other hand, MaNa about to start his +3 attack, and we have the first War Prism on the map for him, and even going to his second one right away.
Yeah, and looks like TLO is going to evacuate this location. Drones get caught, and that's a nice move there from MaNa. Does destroy a lot of them, will bring this base down as well. But TLO at the same time makes a movement towards the third Nexus here, and they are going to trade, but this trade, depending on how this goes on this third base for MaNa, could actually be worse for MaNa here.
There's so many Zerglings for TLO at the bottom left, and he's taking down all those structures, killing the probes as well. MaNa losing a lot of them, already down 8-9 harvesters, and the Protoss player still trying to push in, but here come those Overlords that we talked about earlier. TLO about to drop MaNa with a nice split here. Nice force field, really good defense by the Protoss player.
Yeah, really good spread there from MaNa, and that is an absolutely fantastic spreading unit. He doesn't have the economy, so if he's going to win this game, it's going to be in the next 30 seconds to a minute. He has to go now. He has to break down TLO, and it's happening right now, Caldo.
Yeah, it's happening. He has those War Prisms we talked talked about them. He warps units in his opponent's main base. Suddenly the mineral line of TLO is being attacked, while MaNa is still going up the ramp, trying to aim for the natural. On the other hand, the Protoss play without a third base. TLO still trying to pressure the natural of his opponent. But here come the Zerglings once more. The Zealots in the main base about to take down the lair, but MaNa is still in a good position.
Yeah, TLO's 2-2, so close but so far away at the same time. The main base has been brought down here by MaNa, and he's broken TLO here. I don't think TLO's going to be able to do it. He's pulling all his drones here. Oh my gosh, if he just warps in Zealots, everything should die.
The army supply heavily in favor of MaNa. TLO has a lot of harvesters, but he does not have a lot of fighting units. Nice Warpers Micro here, blinking onto the high ground with the Stalkers as well to save them. Here comes the next round of warp-ins, while MaNa now uses the Zealots to take down the tech of his opponents. The spawning pool immediately being attacked, while TLO is desperate, trying to get a few Mutilates into the game to deal with this, maybe even take down those warp prisoners to make sure that there are no additional warp-ins, but it definitely doesn't look good for this German player at this point.
MaNa's +3 has now finished. These units are equipped with what they need to bring this victory to Poland, to MaNa. He's got a third base on the way behind as well if this doesn't work. He's just got an army composition which TLO can't deal with. He doesn't have the income, he doesn't have the right units. 3 Baneling, 2 Mulas is what he has right now. That's not going to be enough.
GG, MaNa taking game number 1 in the best of 5. The 2-2 upgrades for TLO were too slow, too late in the battle, and the Polish player takes the first game.
He does take the first game, but remember, this is a best of 5. It's a long way to go yet, but that's a great start for MaNa, who, in terms of looking at head-to-head statistics right now, you know, MaNa wouldn't be the favorite going into this. TLO has had in recent times better results against MaNa, but TLO confident still despite being 0-1 down, as you can see on screen.
Yeah, this is the best of 5 series, and we've seen so many players go 2-0 and suddenly lose the series after all, getting a little bit too complacent. But I don't feel that this is a problem that MaNa is going to have. He will approach it one map at a time and trying to give his best. And Cloud Kingdom is a decent map for a Protoss against a Zerg player. It's one of the better maps in those map pools. So as soon as we see maps like, for example, Antiga Shipyard in the later game, if TLO is able to delay an immortal push, potentially immortal push, then we're going to see how MaNa is going to act on different maps.
That's right, and well, as we can see, MaNa on screen looking very calm. He's currently leading 1-0. I think we are going to pass it over to our analysts in a couple of seconds' time to find out what they thought about game number 1.
Fantastic opening game. This place is electric. I'm so happy we had a game like that to open it up. He didn't forget to hold position his ult in this game, but he did a lot more than that. That was great.
Yeah.
I think I'll go to Todd on this one, our resident Protoss expert, and he'll explain to us why MaNa is so good.
He's so good because he reads the game well. They opened pretty much standard, and MaNa lost his scouting probe, and because of that, he was much more careful than he would usually be. Like, he left his first Zealot at his wall. Usually you can just claim the watchtowers with this, but since he had lost his probe, he wanted to be very careful about what TLO might throw at him. But after that, MaNa did a brilliant move and just a brilliant strategy overall. We're going to jump into the replay so I can exactly explain. So here he goes for the third base, and TLO, he's going to see it here in a second. And TLO, I feel he's gambling here a little bit. I mean, he's been droning really hardcore. He went for the unorthodox style of Ling Baneling with upgrades and just basically Baneling drop. So he cannot go for Infestors as well. It will be very hard. He wouldn't have the gas for everything. He took a very quick force, probably expecting MaNa to take a quick third here as well. And MaNa, what he's doing right now, he's on 55 probes. He will not make any more probe. He already has a lot of production facilities with all of these gates and this robo, and he's only going to get as many units out as possible right now, and he's going to go for a big timing. So you see, he does not make probes here. He does not even wall here. He just gets a pylon over here. He's going to get one cannon to help defend. And he's scouting as much as he can with his observer, and he does see this base. And his reaction immediately is going to go for an attack and punish this. So from there, he just has to move out and just throw everything he has at TLO before TLO can have 2-2 upgrades. We see MaNa's army was already above TLO's, and since he's not making probes, he can just make so much army right now. So after this, he just had to move out. He put some pressure on. He had some good force fields, and TLO just, I feel like he fought a bit too early. If he had waited more, if he had bought himself enough time for 2-2 to finish, this game could have been completely different. And he also, the first fight that happened when he had the Baneling drops, he sent the Overlords alone to drop into MaNa's army, and so MaNa just split beautifully. and lost almost nothing to those banelings.
Hold on.
So good. The training in Korea is showing, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
But both of them train in Korea.
Oh, that's true.
No TLO.
Let's take another quick look here at MaNa splits. That'll be kind of the last thing we're going to show. So here we see TLO going in with the baneling drops, the units kind of trailing a little bit behind, and MaNa splitting up his army very, very nicely, reduces the damage, good force field to keep the banelings and the lings off his army, and from there he has a good momentum, he's able to push up the ramp and continue his attack.
Actually, the probe count was a bit reduced because MaNa lost his third in the meantime, but he never remade any more probes after the initial 55, which is something that some of the Korean players have been doing. I saw Creator do this a couple times. Parting did another variance of this build as well when we saw him play earlier, so very interesting play here by MaNa.
Well, if you smell blood, you think you can end it, there's no point. It takes it takes a little bit for the probe to pay itself off, and then to make enough money to have made an effective, to have any effect on the game. So he obviously made the right call. I smelled the blood too, man. I thought he was going to win, and I don't even know that much. The next map is Antiga. How do you think he's going to open?
Seems like, from what we've seen so far, pretty good, either Immortal Sentry or Verdi did that kind of Stalker Colossus, but the key point on that map seems to be the small choke at the third.
Yeah.
If you can take that position, it's very hard for the Zerg to engage you properly.
I feel like MaNa is a very versatile Protoss. He could play almost anything. Stargate is less likely on this map, but it's still possible. But he showed Robo with some upgrades and a third in the previous game, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for the same here. I mean, after you win a game like this, you have to think, I outplayed my opponent completely. Why don't I go for something similar? But for example, this time, I just make a lot of probes, and I have my opponent scared of an attack by me. But the thing is, TLO, I don't think he's gonna be too worried about this, because that's just how he is. Even though he lost the first game, I'm sure he's still very confident. He's probably thinking, well, bad stuff happens sometimes, but doesn't mean that I play particularly bad.
Yeah.
So I feel like TLO is not going to change his gameplay too much. He's still going to go for exactly what he wants to go for, which still could be anything. I mean, he opened for this. He used this unorthodox style in the first game.
I don't think we'll see that on
yeah.
Antiga, because it's very hard to hold that fourth base. Like, where would you put it?
He can do it with a late force, but I don't know. Like, this is not a style used that much. Anymore. Dimaga was using it a lot for some time, but these days we've seen it a lot less, just because against big aggressions like MaNa did now, it's very hard for the Zerg to defend without Roaches and without Infestors. Like, there is some big timings you can hit where you can really kill the Zerg. But if you try to play too passive, and he gets +2 attack upgrades, he goes for Baneling Bombs in 3 of your mineral lines. As a Protoss, this is so hard to defend. You will basically lose all your economy, and then after that, it's very hard to come back. So
yeah,
that's why MaNa played very aggressive. If you try to play passive against this style, it will be really bad. But TLO, I feel like he's very versatile as well. You know, he can play almost any style, and this might have been something he had prepared only for the first map or only for Cloud, and he might play something totally different in the next game, or he might try it again.
All right, well, MaNa, yesterday he looked a little bit shaky, maybe a little bit nervous in front of the hometown crowd. Today he looks like a killer. He's calm, his hands are not shaking. And that was a great game, and I'm so excited to see the next one. The players are in the game, it's loading. Let's go over to the casters, have fun.
Thank you, Jarrett, and we are now ready to jump into the next game.
Yeah, we are.
As mentioned, it is going to be Antiga Shipyard. Quite excited of this. TLO currently, trailing at the moment, and we'll see what he can do to bring that back.
And he's starting to the left side of the map in blue. Our Zerg player for Germany down a map against his Polish opponent. This is TLO. And of course, starting to the right side of the map in red, we have our Polish player, the Protoss player, starting from our sports in Poland. It is MaNa.
Currently leading 1-0. Well, let's see if he can extend that lead here on Antiga Shipyards. We'll have to see what he's going to do. Of course, as mentioned by the analysts, Robo and Stargate are builds that MaNa like to use a lot on here.
Yeah.
Whether it be an Immortal push, whether it be Stargate into an expansion, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, it's definitely true. When I was talking to him earlier, he said that he wants to aim more for a 3-way place just in general in this series, because for the reasons I mentioned in game number 1. But then he suddenly remembered, well, Antiga is also one of those maps, and he wasn't quite sure what to use here. He is still thinking about going for an Immortal push here, because it's just such a strong build, and this crowd is going crazy.
And it's not just the StarCraft crowd too, there's a lot of other people joining in for Chance for MaNa here. Of course, Poland just kind of cheering on MaNa across the board here, of course, wanting to see Poland do well at an esport event.
This is actually funny as hell. The League of Legends crowd that is right next to the StarCraft crowd is also cheering for MaNa. Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
MaNa as well. So a lot of people here behind MaNa, and to be honest, it does really motivate you, Kaldor, to have such a powerful crowd behind you to push you, you know, especially after winning game 1, because now you feel on top of the world. You're like, I cannot be beaten. I'm playing well. I've already beaten him. I've got the crowd behind me. This series has to go my way, and the pressure is going to start mounting on TLO.
And what I really love about this crowd, and I have to point that out, we talked about it yesterday quite a lot when we had dinner after the games, is that in Poland, it's not only cheering for the Polish player, it's always, there are always people supporting also the other players as well. It's not like a hostile environment for everyone who's not from Poland or facing a Polish player, and this is what Poland as a country for an event like this is just so awesome.
All right, so we do have the kind of the wall on the lower ramp here for MaNa, and he has got that probe still out there looking to find out whether TLO is going to take that third base or not. And he did get quite a late cannon here, got the gateway before the cannon. It is a little bit risky to do that sometimes, but obviously it's a calculated risk here by MaNa. Getting the gateway down before the cannon means a faster cybercore, means a faster tech. And look at that, even squeezes in the pylon onto that third base and will delay TLO from grabbing it just a little bit longer.
Yeah, that is definitely going to delay him a little bit. Very well done here by MaNa in the last second, dropping the pylon here. And we're going to find out very soon what exactly he's trying to do. As mentioned, an Immortal push on this map is really, really strong, because as soon as you break down the rocks, as you're on the high ground, you can use the sentries to force field the ramp, and the third base is something that Zerg players usually can't hold. So you need to evacuate your drones, you need to set up the spine crawlers. It all comes down to what kind of strategy TLO is going to choose to defend against the Immortal push. Is he going to go for run-bys? Will he try to break down the wall of MaNa? Will he go for flanks and try to bait out those force field, lower the sentry energy? These are all options that he has in this game.
And MaNa's squeezed in a probe here, which TLO has seen, and he has got the Queen here to try and intercept it. The probe is trying to get in there to make sure TLO isn't doing anything. Seeing those two drones is good, because seeing those two drones means TLO is droning at this point, and he doesn't really need to worry about any all-ins, which we saw him get all-ins yesterday against Bly. But this time he knows he's safe. He's chrono boosting into it, into the Nexus at the moment. He's not looking to rush out a sentry or anything. He may get a sentry next, but it may just be for a stalker, because he knows that he doesn't need to play defensive in the opening and can start to exploit that and expand other options.
I feel when you play an opponent like MaNa, you always have to try to get in his head. MaNa is someone who is sometimes really affected by these things. So if TLO is able to pressure him, that might help a lot. And this is exactly what you pointed out earlier. Against Bly, that was exactly his problem. Bly always with openings that he didn't expect, and then suddenly he felt so much pressure that he couldn't do anything about it.
And we did see a chrono boost into the forge there, of all structures, very early on.
And the +1,
yeah,
horrible.
The +1 coming out, it's been chrono boosted into. Now the Nexus on the natural as well. Double gases have been taken here. TLO's building 6 links to clear out the Zealot, which would usually be on the Zelnaga Tower by now, but MaNa did retreat it, expecting the standard response from TLO. Meanwhile, TLO is still just droning behind this. Nothing has been shown from MaNa. We've seen the +1 being chrono boosted once. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. He hasn't really done anything else at the moment and will need to start making decisions.
Exactly. We have the Twilight Council now for him. And this is really interesting with the timing here. Not exactly what I expected. MaNa usually lending himself more to a robo opening on this map. But now we have with the Twilight Council. Do you think we're actually going to see a timing with +2 and Blink Stalkers?
Very well could do. The way that he set this up so far, it looks like that's going to be the case. Without getting the robo down so early on, you can't scout your opponent. So if you don't have the robo, you're not looking to scout, then you already have a specific plan in your mind, and you don't care what he's doing, Kaldor. So that's what I feel that he may be leaning towards here.
To me, that's so interesting, because when he was in Korea, we talked a lot about this build. It's a build that was his go-to build, but he goes into the Templar Archive right away.
And this reminds me so much of DreamHack Summer, when players like Damaga were opening up Ling heavy, Ling bailing.
Oh my god,
we saw
it's so right.
so many pushes from MaNa involving Archons because they tank the Ling damage. They're better against Lings. So that's what it seems to be at the moment, a specialized push here coming from MaNa. It is not really a macro play. I think in a couple of moments time we will see additional gateways added there. They're coming down, and this is going to be a very strong push, including Blink into this. Very excited for this
exactly
push.
what I was about to mention. MaNa said that he doesn't really like the +2 Blink Stalker build anymore. It was his go-to build a long time ago. You could see it in every single game against Zerg because his micro with Blink Stalkers is just so awesome. But now he's going for the strategy that he played against Damaga at DreamHack, as Apollo already mentioned, against an opponent who has shown a very Ling-heavy play in map number 1 with those Archons. He can do so much damage. He's getting the Blink after all. Also, of course, the +2 attack, adding those extra gateways, but the Overseer is heading into the base now, dropping a Changeling.
The Changeling is going to spot nothing. TLO doesn't get anything. He sees the Blink being incredible. He sees the Forge being incredible. He misses the Templar Archives as well, but TLO knows something's coming. And in my honest opinion, TLO has roaches. He's going to have a carapace upgrade soon. I don't think he's in a too bad situation. He does have roach speed as well, but this is definitely a surprise. TLO setting up a run by. He knows that MaNa's going to be pushing out momentarily, and he knows because he actually sees the army coming, and still, I may have seen the Archon, but I don't think he's going to matter too much.
I don't think he saw it, but yeah, at this point, with this roach-heavy composition that TLO is going for, it doesn't matter too much. We have 150 supply against 91. The Zerglings trying to run in. MaNa is setting up his force, but TLO with a massive army that is trying to go in, and MaNa forgetting the Zealots again, not seeing what's happening here, not warping in. There is no wall. The Cybernetic Score is going down, and MaNa is going for the counter-attack. He realizes that he will be too late to the party. He can't turn around and try to defend.
Oh, good force field by MaNa, trying to protect his home base. He's trying to force the cannons, and at the same time, we have MaNa pushing across the map. He doesn't have that many units there, and TLO's at 170 supply. There are so many roaches here, and I don't think MaNa can do this.
MaNa is not able to get a second force field up on the ramp, and he knows it's over. GG.
Yeah, 170 supply. A fantastic read there from TLO, but in all honesty, I think that was a risk from MaNa. TLO probably does as well, and thinking about going for Archons like that when there's roaches on the board, I think MaNa was maybe just expecting a Ling heavy play again, and I'm sure that we're going to have to find out from our analysis, Todd and QXC, more about that in a couple of moments.
I'm already getting a free dinner. MaNa promised me if there's one run by into his main base with not a complete wall, I'll get my dinner, so that's the one thing that I'm happy about, but that's definitely not a game that you want to lose, not in a fashion like this. Yes, even with the Zealot it would have been hard, but with the Sentry there, that could have helped him so much. But let's hear what our guys at the analysis desk have to say about game number 2 between MaNa and TLO.
He forgot the Zealot, but did it really matter?
I don't think it really did. Not in that situation because of the large number of roaches. If it was just a speedling run by, one Zealot, that can hold you, you can warp in behind it, but with so many roaches, so many speedlings behind it, you could have a Zealot in the wall, the roaches walk up and they just kill the Zealot, and then you go into the main.
If he had warped in more sentries in his main base, could he have force fielded them out indefinitely? Like it takes about 6 sentries to have indefinite force fields?
Yeah, but his army would have been crushed on the other side of the map, and then I mean TLO was on 3 bases.
Right. Yeah, it was like if MaNa's army had been sufficiently large to kill TLO, then you get in a position where MaNa still has his main because he's force fielding out, and TLO has nothing because everything is dead. But MaNa's army was just too small out on the map, so even if he kept TLO out of his base, he still would have ended up losing.
Okay, so TLO this game, he opened standard, but this time he really went for a standard style with roaches, no more Zergling Baneling. And MaNa, he did something unusual. He took 2 gases at his expense very early on here. And this really had me wondering, what is he going for here? I mean, when you take those 2 gases this early, unless you're going for DT or double Stargate, I don't really see what you might go for. Maybe +2 and Blink and try to take a third again, get a bunch of sentries. But he didn't seem to be what he wanted to do here. Look, his saturation is so poor at his expansion, and he's mining fully from these gases here. So after that, I saw the Twilight Council, and I still thought this would be a third with a bunch of gates and maybe a late robo, but it still seemed a bit strange. And then later on, he ends up throwing down the Templar Archives, and then Apollo mentioned the DreamHack, and I exactly thought the same thing at that same moment, because MaNa, he played with Damaga in the finals of one of the DreamHack, one of the previous DreamHacks, and Damaga was always going for Zergling Baneling, And basically, MaNa always tried to hard counter him as much as possible, and it worked. He won that match. So that's what happened in this game, basically. He was just hoping TLO will go for the same strategy, and then you could just hard counter him, kill the third, and take a big enough advantage to end the game. So now he goes for the Templar Archive. He goes up to 8 gates, I believe, and he just wants to hit like a 9:30 seconds to 10 minutes timing, maybe even 11. And he's basically cutting probes from now. He just has like the optimal saturation in his bases. He gets blink first, which is, I guess he could have gone in charge if he wanted to go charge and arc on heavy. And then from there he just ends up moving out, and TLO has just too many roaches. When I saw TLO's army and how many roaches he was making, which was good, by the way. I mean, TLO, he saw that MaNa was not taking a third yet, so he just started massing units. When I saw this army, I already knew how this would go, and the run-by did not affect the game too much. TLO just playing very solid in this game, MaNa trying something, it failed. You move on, he's going to have to adapt his play now.
Yeah, it seemed like MaNa was like, okay, TLO's probably going to play the same way, so I'm just going to blind counter that. And TLO was like, no, I'm actually going to do something different. And it deals with, that Roach play deals so well with the anti-Zergling Baneling play that MaNa tried to use, the Zealot Archon kind of style.
Great. Well, we're going on to game 3. It's on Entomb Valley. How's this going to play out differently?
Might see a fast expand, like Todd was saying. Some of the other games that we saw the other day, Protoss can wall in kind of the top of the ramp at the third, take a very fast Nexus, go into some kind of 3-base play. But I don't know.
You know, on this map you can do Forge Expand, and then with 1 gate you take a third base and you start walling it.
All right. Well, the players are in game. It's loaded. We'll pass it over to the casters and have fun.
We have a 1-1 situation in the best of 5. MaNa losing game number 2. Now the third map is going to be Entombed Valley, Apollo.
That's right, Entombed Valley. We'll see how this is going to develop now, as we are into the game. Both players are ready to begin, and of course we can join them in a couple of seconds. There we go.
We have our Zerg player to the bottom left of the map in blue for Team Liquid.net. It is TLO. And starting cross position on the map, we have in red the Polish player. Starting for Mouse Sports, it is MaNa.
This map, by the way, for anybody that didn't know, cross positions only. So the probes straight across, overlords straight across here, so they know exactly where each other are going to spawn. And MaNa goes in and sees no early pool. So we'll see where he can branch from here. See no early pool. Sometimes you still do see Forge Expands, just because it is a more difficult ramp to deal with. But sometimes you can also see Nexus first, because, you know, Zerg players don't really build excessive amounts of links early on to try and do anything, unless it's an early pool.
I feel on this version of the map you can definitely time your builds a lot better, because you know exactly where your opponent spawns. You get those probes across the map and you see, is there an early pool, is there none?
Yeah.
In the GSL, where you can spawn on all 4 positions on the map, you have a lot of early pool strategies. We saw that in the GSTL as well. Something that we don't really had at IEM so far. Every Protoss player is using the chance to get information about what's going on in his opponent's main base. It gives you so much safety and also the opportunity to block your opponent's expansion, which is exactly what MaNa is currently doing.
And now it's a race to the third there, as the Forge was put down, so MaNa can afford to pile on block. And is he going to get there? I don't think he is, unfortunately.
I think he will.
Well, there we go. Just got in there, TLO did. So MaNa was looking for another block there, potentially another pylon block too, to really frustrate TLO. But TLO does manage to get that down. Behind this, we will be seeing the gateway come down into the cannon and start to make this wall off.
And Entombed Valley is just a little bit different than all the other maps, for the one reason that you can very safely expand your third base. Todd already mentioned it on the analysis desk together with QXC. They were talking about it. You have to break down these rocks, but you can, with the second wall, just make sure that the Zerg is not going in. There are several ways as a Zerg player what you can do about it. You can try to hit a timing, arrive at your opponent's second wall exactly when he starts to build it up, go in with roaches and Zerglings. Yeah. But it's not really the usual strategy that Zerg players go for.
I believe that MaNa is going to take a very fast third base in this game. You know, we started off in game 1, which was a bit of a slower game with the timing as mentioned. Game 2 was a little bit too fast. You need to slow the pace down this series. Otherwise, it could start to get a little bit too fast, a little bit out of control. MaNa should probably just think about it properly and in depth. Say, you know, I am a good player. I won game 1. This is a map where I can take a fast third. Let's draw it out a little bit.
Yeah, the big problem that you have on Antiga in comparison to Entombed Valley is just taking this third base. It's so far away from your natural, and you have to really have the perfect defense, the perfect ratio of units, and there are so many things that a Zerg player can do in Antiga Shipyard that just don't work on Entombed Valley. If you have your sentries ready, if you have those gateways to wall off. So I expect exactly the same thing on Polo. I think in this game, MaNa will go for his 3 bases, will go for a very stable play and trying to slow the pace down, as you said, trying to make sure that TLO doesn't get into his hand.
But look at this, we are going to have a Zealot Stalk, a bit of aggression here from MaNa. From what I can see it going to be. It also could be a sentry, but 2 Zealots definitely going to make their way across. Alright, it is going to be a Stalker. He spent 2 Chrono Boosts into that gateway really fast here. The Zealot's going to make its way across. He didn't need to spend the Chrono Boost. That could have been faster probes. That could have been, you know, earlier saturation on these bases, but he decided to go double Zealot really early on. So obviously he sent 1 out to the Xel'Naga Tower, he's got a wall off on the other, but another Chrono Boost into the gateway again. So he will make the movement across the map, he will look to pressure, and behind it his tech choice has been made. Yeah,
he goes for the Stargate here, definitely not what we expected here. We expected the early third base, which is not what he's going for. He goes for the aggression, and without gas for TLO, without speed, he can really micro a lot here and make sure that he does damage. Pressure those queens, go for the drones, trying to take down harvesters. And here we go, the Zealot's already approaching, the Stalker is trailing, and at the same time the Stargate about to finish.
Oh, and is he going to get a queen kill here? You might have to see a couple of drones pulled off the line. They will go down, and is he going to get one? Oh, I don't think he did get one there, but MaNa is putting the pressure onto TLO. The queens are taking damage, but there are 4 links here. Let's have a look at the micromanagement between these 2 players.
Yeah, nice position here for MaNa. It could have been a little bit better, but still he's behind the mineral patches here, doing damage with the Zealots, who finally go down, and now the Stalker is gone. MaNa took down 3 drones, was able to also kill a few of the Zerglings, but he did not kill a queen. That was what he was originally aiming for. And now we have him with a +1 attack upgrade behind this, the 3rd base, and also a Void Raid.
Yeah, I do not think that was very successful there for MaNa. But on the other hand, he is trying to take a 3rd base. It's not fully walled off yet, it is now. And there is a force field. A cannon should come next to the pilot now to make sure that this is safe and easy to take. But even if there was going to be a problem, there is a Void Raid. There's a Void Raid that's going to be able to deal enough damage. I'm surprised we don't have a cannon coming down on that wall because the Lings are actually doing damage to it. There is a sentry though, and of course that we would be seeing that Void Raid come out to protect it. And with this 3rd base, from what I can just see for it, Caldor, I think that most likely most Protoss players from this location look for a 3 base timing.
And currently we have TLO identifying this 3rd base, and he sees what MaNa was doing here, also realized that MaNa didn't do as much damage as he wanted to with the original attack. So he goes into the 4th base, he knows that for now it's safe. And what he needs against the Void Ray is of course having this creep spread. He's covering all his bases, he's scouting with the Zergling, he sees the warp in pylon, he has a creep spread between all the spaces, can use the extra queens to defend against the Void Ray. He knows that there's a warp in point for his opponent and can just prepare. The Zergling's already on the production tab, speed is not done just yet, and MaNa is going for it with another round of warp-ins, trying to force a cancel on the hatch.
This is a really good future sight for both players here. MaNa taking the 3rd base, realized TLO would be looking for a fast fall, and that's why the pylon's there, that's why the Zealot's there, that was probably why the Void Ray was there as well. He's looking to bring this down, there is a transfuse available, there it is used. Can he bring this down?
He can.
Yes, MaNa brings it down, that was excellent.
Yeah, the 4th is gone, and the queen is also dead. One of those queens dying. Well done by MaNa. This is exactly what he wanted to achieve. At this point, he knows he can't warp in another round of units. The Void Ray is damaged. He needs to retreat, and that's exactly what he does. But he's on 3 bases. He's droning up. He's going for the Ed attack. We have him with a Phoenix follower, +1 armor, going into the robotics facility, the Twilight Council, and now just sitting tight on those 3 bases and trying to hit that timing that you were talking about.
Yeah, really good foresight from MaNa to predict that's what TLO would do, and that's how he decided to punish it. And behind this we have Double Forge. So we're going to be looking for a very strong timing upgrade heavy. We saw Soke do this a lot yesterday, focused on Double Forge. The attack doesn't necessarily need to have a mothership anymore. It can be very, very gateway heavy with Blink, with a lot of Immortals in there as well. Looks like we do have a bit of a problem at the moment, but we'll get that done in a second. But right now we are back into the game immediately in TLO, breaking down rocks left and right, and the game will continue on.
TLO going immediately for the 5th base. He is really trying to expand as much as possible here, using this time that he has to get the bank, to get his economy up, to get his tech started. +1/+1 for him too. He goes for the Overlord speed, and we have a Spy attack for him. He's also getting another Overseer. He wants to know exactly what MaNa is doing. The scouting and TLO's information gathering is just excellent. He wants to know, MaNa, what are you doing with your 3 bases? What kind of push am I going to expect here?
That's right, and it should be looking towards a 2-2 push, to be honest. That's really good, and then after that you can get 3-3 as well. And a lot of gateways are coming down. This is setting up rather nicely. TLO trying to figure out what's going on. Is going to spot extra gateways. Not much else though, as it does fall down, the Overseer. And behind this though, I mean, 10 Infestors.
Yes, 10 Infestors and an immediate Hive Tech starting at 12:20 in the game. He's going for the Broodlords, whereas MaNa now is also adding Hallucination. And this is one of the tools that he's used in the past to hallucinate a few, just a few Colossi with his army. We have him with the Templar Archive, so he's going to crank out a lot of Immortals here, going for the charge upgrade, those +2/+2 upgrades that Apollo was talking about, and in addition just going into the Archons again. If he then hallucinates those Colossi and TLO scouts them, doesn't realize what's happening, we might just see a response from the Zerg player with a lot of Corruptors and just committing to a unit that won't help him in the actual battle.
What MaNa is doing right now is making his push stronger, but making his after push weaker. Which means that if this push doesn't work, he's going to be down and out. Because he doesn't have Colossus. He's not trying to get a Mothership. He's put in everything in this push. Zealot charge. He's going to make Archons with a gas instead of trying to get out and use the gas for something else in terms of tech. He will not be looking for a 4th base in this game. It's all going to be on this push. Will TLO defend it? Will TLO read that this is coming?
Well, TLO at least has not the Xel'Naga Watchtower. MaNa was trying to clean it up and make sure that his opponent doesn't get those information early in the game. Now we have the Greater Spy attack and additional Zerglings. The army composition of TLO now with 122 Zerglings, soon 150. So the Archons will help, but Colossi would really help a lot too. And TLO is already about maxed out. He can't even get Corruptors.
Yeah, you're so smart. The hallucinated Colossus looking to force out Corruptors. Useless units in this game.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what MaNa's trying to do here. We haven't seen TLO fall for it yet. There they are being made. Corruptors are being made. Let's see how many TLO makes, because they will be useless in this game.
Exactly. He can't use them. Dead supply in the air. Exactly what we talked about earlier. Here comes the blink. The Infested Terrans are already spawning. Those Colossi are not dead. Was TLO fooled? Is he going for more Corruptors? MaNa is already dropping in supply here. He's had a hard time defending against the Infested Terrans. They don't really get an advantage of those upgrades anymore. But at this point, does it really matter? TLO reinforcing his army, going for additional Corruptors, but adding Zerglings as well, pushing his way in. And MaNa, for the battle that ended, I don't know, he's still in a good position here. He has a lot of resources to warp in, but his push, or the momentum at least for now, was slowed down.
He's got so much money, the Warp Prism is so low, the Corruptors that were made can bring it down, and then he doesn't have a close reinforcing unit. But that was a good punch halt from TLO that says, no, you will not hit me with this attack. He used the Infestors, those 10 Infestors so well. A lot of energy expended to slow this down. More gateways coming in by MaNa because he's got so much money. Maybe he didn't calculate his gateways right, but either way, this attack is coming in. +3 attacks seconds away, but Broodlords are being morphed.
Broodlords are being morphed. More and more Corruptors are joining. +2/+2 on the production tab. A maxed out army for TLO. MaNa at 150 supply. Still not quite sure if he wants to engage right now. He warps in additional units to the left side of the map at the natural, trying to aim for another hatch kill, and at the same time moving in with his main force towards this 4th base, trying to take down his opponent. The War Prism is already gone. Another Stargate added for MaNa. I think he forgot that he already has one.
Yeah, and here we go. TLO looks like he's going to be able to hold this position very well because he has the Broodlords, he has the Lynx, he has the Infestors, and MaNa is on the back foot now, as we can see, falling back from his assault. TLO stopped that very, very well. And as mentioned, MaNa put everything into this attack. He really delayed his later stages. He's getting a Stargate, but he's already got one, and trying to go for a Fleet Beacon.
He's completely in autopilot here. He wants to go for the Archon Toilet again. This is what he tried to do against Bly, and it really did a lot. But at this point, he's completely forgotten that there is already a Stargate. Now he realizes it even before his second Stargate finishes, and he's like, that could have been so much faster for me. I could already have started my mothership here. But now he has to buy more and more time. Needs to wait for the Fleet Beacon, needs to wait for the mothership, needs to wait for the energy. And TLO, is he really going to give MaNa all the time?
Yeah, the thing is, when you dedicate to an assault like that, you change your tech path to make the attack stronger, Zealot charge, and then Archons really early on before you're ready to build Archons, before you're ready to get the Mothership out in a 4th base, then it slows everything down. Right now, MaNa is traveling at 10 miles an hour while TLO's at 90. He keeps on going. He's got a 5th base. He's morphing more and more Brutals. His 2-2 is almost finished. He's got so much gas in the back. TLO can go 3-3. TLO can get an Ultraless Cavern for a weird switch later on. He can do anything at this point.
He definitely can, and MaNa realizes that he has to buy time, that he needs to go for a few sneaky attacks. I love these few Zealots on the map with the Observer trying to take down the Creep Tumors, but at the same time, the more important part is that we have another warp in at the natural. He's going in again with the Mothership. The Corruptor already on the hunt, trying to take down this warp in point for his opponent. And MaNa is closing the gap in supply again. The Mothership is being built. TLO has not really finished all his upgrades, but at this point right now, MaNa is just trying to get this heavy Protoss army out there with 200 supply that he can use to just completely stomp TLO's army. And that's exactly what he has to do.
And as you can hear, guys, in the crowd, the audience trying to get behind MaNa to make this comeback possible, because right now, he is behind in this game. TLO has 12 Broodlords. Once you get to 12, the Zerg player has a grin. He smiles, he says it's time to go. That amount of Broodlords aren't going to do significant damage to any army that Protoss can give.
And TLO realizes that MaNa is really trying to hurt his bases, his satellite bases, so he's going for Spine Crawlers. They buy him enough time to get the army over there. But those Zealots are still doing a fair amount of damage, and he does not stop to warp in. He has the minerals. The problem for him was the gas the entire time. So the excess minerals now just going into the Zealots and making sure that TLO has to divide his attention. But the Zerg player is still pushing in. He's only sending a few ground units to the bottom right, and the rest of the army is aiming straight for the 4th base of the Protoss player.
Yeah, now TLO moves forward. He only has one Overseer. Maybe that could be the thing that MaNa can work around, because his units will be cloaked very shortly once the Mothership joins the forces. But TLO's broken the 4th base. He's stopped the economy of MaNa from expanding any further than it is at this moment. MaNa does bring down the 5th base and is doing more and more damage himself when he's supply blocked, and I still can't see how he's going to beat this army. He needs time, he needs a Vortex, he needs the Archons inside.
He needs the perfect Vortex here, nothing else will save him here. This problem is also that he can't warp in additional units with the Warp Prism at the bottom left. Now he's finally not supply blocked anymore. We have the warp in at the 3rd base, but there are the Zerglings. Maybe he can do something here, but he has to defend the rest of his bases. MaNa even moving out now. He wants to wait a little bit longer. He needs the energy for this Vortex. Archon count is currently up to 4, and here comes the fight. Is he gonna get the Vortex that he needs?
Oh, those Brutals are clumped up, but he can't quite get there. The Mothership was bundled and was kept at the back there. He's hoping for the Vortex. He blinks forward to try and get great stores. Is MaNa going to be able to do it with minimal amounts of units?
And at the same time, those neural parasites not working well, and look at that. He's chasing him down, blinks forward again, another storm to kill those Broodlings, and he's sniping them one by one. MaNa still down in supply, but trying to go for it here. Here comes the Vortex, and everything is moving into the Vortex. TLO with all those investors, the Archons, are trying to get in there.
Wow, he defeated the army, and now everything goes pop, and the army is blown up, and MaNa has done it with minimal units, but behind this, TLO had so much money. He's able to rebuild those Broodlords. He's morphing for more, and we do have a run by into the natural here by TLO doing damage, and he's broken through. The question is, has TLO had enough money in the bank? Because MaNa was able to bring that 5th down earlier, even though it didn't seem like that was a cool thing in the game, because it looked like he may not be able to beat the army anyway, but that now has turned massive.
At this point, MaNa still has a lot of army supplies, 76 to 89, but the reason why we have this huge gap in overall supply is that MaNa just lost all of his probes. Well, he only has 22 left. He can still mine from this one base, so it doesn't matter too much as long as he doesn't have those additional Nexi. But this is his biggest problem, that he just doesn't have the economy. The only chance that he has is going for an attack now.
Fight. It's one more fight. He's lost his 4th, he's lost his 3rd.
And do you really want to try to stabilize and get another base out when your opponent is still up 2 bases? Do you risk that?
I don't know. It's a very difficult position for MaNa to be in right now. He storms to get rid of the borrowed Zerglings, but it didn't work, as you can see. He's going to try and plant that Nexus down and once again failed, and that's very frustrating. We'll see what he does with his money. If he warps in more units, he warps in one Zealot. He can't even afford a Nexus at this moment. So what does that mean? Is he going to even bother trying anymore? He has a long-distance mine from a third base. He doesn't have enough money to make a Nexus. He finally kills off those units, but every second that goes by, TLO rebuilds a stronger army, and even though MaNa did it with minimal forces before, I really don't think he can do it again.
TLO is already up 76 supply, and his army supply is now at 106 versus 78. The unit composition for TLO is great. MaNa still has the mothership. He still has this chance to go for another Vortex. 5 Archons, that's what he has. He has 4 High Templars. He might be able to use them later on, but he's really far behind. You can see the overall supply just going even further in favor of TLO, while MaNa is desperately trying to get himself another source of income. TLO just morphs in more and more Broodlords. He's already back to 11. He will have 14 in a few seconds, and still investors to support them, and a ground army consisting of Zerglings.
And you know, MaNa did kill that 5th base. Maybe he thinks TLO's a little bit slower behind than he actually is, but TLO's got a lot of money now, guys. Again, he's mining a lot of money. He's got the amount of Broodlords necessary to beat down this army one more time. MaNa's stuck at 100 supply. He just can't make more units. Let's have a look at the unit tab. I mean, what's he got? 5 Archons there, 9 Stalkers, 4 High Templar. They will have a few Storms, I suppose, but is it really going to be enough? 9 Stalkers. If one Fungal lands on those Stalkers, that's probably 5 to 6 Stalkers from not moving. And if they're pinned down, there's only going to be 3 mobile ones. Is that really going to bring down 14 Broodlords? I don't think so.
Look at this spread. He's already spreading his Broodlords here, making sure that they are not clumped up while he engages, and this is of course what MaNa was hoping for. A clumping up Zerg player, this huge ball of death of TLO that he can just Vortex and then take down with those Archons, but TLO knows exactly what MaNa is hoping for, and he's trying to crush the full stream of MaNa in this 3rd game.
He's coming in for the toilet. There's one going down. The Vortex does go down, but I don't think it's going to be enough here, Cadol. I really don't, unfortunately.
6 energy until he has a second one. But yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be so tough for him. He's trying to keep it alive. He's trying to run away. The first toilet is fine, but where comes the second Vortex? There it is. And he gets a few of those Archons. So, all the Broodlords to the left side already there. Can he move in the second? I don't think he does.
TLO still at 180 supply, still with 7 Broodlords in the sky as well, with more Corruptors being made. Unfortunately for MaNa, the double Vortex was the only chance. As we see the Archons do as much damage as they can, they do bring down a lot of the Broodlords, but you can look at the supply and it tells you the story. 40 supply versus 170. TLO went down 0-1, and now he's looking at a 2-1 lead.
The economy behind these fights, this is what won TLO this game. MaNa with a very, very good effort, but in the end, with 40 supply left, only 24 Harvesters, 1 Zealot and 4 Archons, you can't defeat this huge army of TLO, who is now about to be maxed out again. He's moving in, these Archons are going to die now, and this is the end for Mousesports MaNa in game number 3. He will have to hope for game 4 and game 5.
That's right, remember this is a best of 5. MaNa just holding on for everything he has. He knows that it's not likely to win this game. TLO has played a solid game here. He locked down the timing. He then brutalized MaNa's army very easily. And now the dawn is near the end as we see the army finally march one last time. All the changelings just disrupting the Archon movement, and MaNa's last remaining forces do fall down.
GG, well played, and TLO is in the lead. A 2-1 for the German Zerg player. And MaNa, after winning the initial game, lost now 2 in a row.
Yeah, and as you can see, TLO on screen there is actually talking with teammate Liquid Red, who unfortunately couldn't make it into the main tournament after losing in the open bracket, but is giving confidence to his teammate. And we saw how happy TLO was with that win. He played good. He played very good.
And they're still talking. They're still talking about the next game, about the strategy, what they can do. And funny as it is, Red actually, his flight got cancelled. He was already trying to fly out of Poland, but due to the weather, his flight got cancelled. He's here to support his teammate now, talking with him about the next map, the next strategy, whereas MaNa has to focus and try to find a way to defeat TLO now.
TLO has Red, but MaNa has the audience behind him, and they will need to get behind him once again if he wants to be able to draw this series equal.
back to the analysis desk now for a quick analysis before we jump into game number 4.
What a game. I've still got my goosebumps. Incredible. I love long distance mining, man. You know when a game you got long distance mining going, you had a really good game.
You love long distance mining.
Well, I mean, I don't like having to do it, but I love having to see it, man.
Is that because you played Command & Conquer?
Could be, man. Could be. All right, man. Explain it to all the noobs.
Okay, so both of the players again open pretty standard here. As I mentioned before, MaNa, he chose to go for the 1 gate into very quick third here. And I really like the pressure he put with the Void Ray. And the 4 gate, he was able to kill the force base once. And it was an okay move, I feel, even though he lost a couple units. So after that,
Go ahead.
after that, he basically went for double upgrades from 2 forges without Colossi. He hallucinated 2 Colossi and he moved out in the middle of the map for pre-timing Broodlord. But I just feel this timing was a little bit too early. So we can go into the replay here and take a look exactly at when MaNa tries to hit. We're at 14 minutes 32, and he has 71 army supply to the 108 of TLO, but the problem is TLO, he has so many infestors. He has 10 infestors, they are all full energy. This is just going to be so tough for MaNa here to actually win this, and look, he has 2 more upgrades on the way.
Quick question. Can you click on one of the Colossus? Yes. Does it say they have range? Okay, so I was just wondering because he hallucinates the 2 Colossus.
Yes.
But TLO didn't really make Corruptors, it seemed like. So I was wondering if maybe TLO clicked on the hallucinated Colossus. He was like, oh, he has 2 Colossus without range.
I don't think he did. Like, he was making Corruptors now, so...
But his Greater Spire is about to finish, so he would be making Corruptors
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, true. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't happen.
Okay.
And basically now TLO, he just has to engage and micro well. He just had so much more army supply. He only has to spam infested Terrans in this fight, which is exactly what he did. He fungals behind this not to let the army leave. And while MaNa is surrounded, he loses a lot. Look, those upgrades weren't even done yet.
Yeah.
Imagine he had gone 1 minute later. I feel like these days, the best moments to attack a Zerg is when the Broodlords are actually morphing. Because then it will be the latest you can attack before the Broodlords are out, and you will always have so much more than you did 1 or 2 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, the +2 armor makes a huge difference,
yes.
especially now that the infested Terran aren't benefiting from the weapon upgrades.
I think he could have even gotten +3 before fighting here, before Broodlords were out. He could have just positioned himself here and be ready to force fields and then keep reinforcing and then hit a big timing here. And it would have been a completely different game. So now he keeps on pressuring with this small army, but I mean, this is just too small at this point. And one thing that MaNa did very well was go up to 75 probes very quickly, so he still had a good economy. But look at TLO, 4th, 5th base. TLO does such a good job of taking many bases and saturating them. He loves to do it. And MaNa now is pressing through. And I mean, 59 army supply against 104. He's just going to lose this every single time, no matter what.
Right.
And this is what happens. After that, he was behind. He tried to come back. He tried to make more things happen. He tried to make more units. We're going to fast forward, actually.
Okay.
To around, I think, 22 minutes.
Yeah,
Just
I've got it written down as 22.
There was like this big fight we're going to show where basically MaNa chased down TLO, but MaNa, he let his force base die, and his third as well ended up dying. So after that, he was just so behind economically. He had to make something happen. He had a very short timing window where he could try to maybe win the game. But I mean, it was so tough just because of the saturation of TLO. And MaNa, he actually went for some really nice War Prism harass. Let's jump back into the replay here so that we can see TLO has a very strong mix here, and he has a very good position above this area over here. You can't blink under that. You have to blink over here, but then, I mean, if all your stalkers are there, you will get fungal and lose everything. So MaNa, he recognizes that. He just pulls back here. He lets this base die. He transfers the probes somewhere.
Do you think on this map it might have been better for him to take the middle right base? Is that one a little easier to defend against Broodlords?
I mean, if TLO has good crit spread, he brings some spines here and he presses from here. It will do the same thing. But yeah, like this area is just so hard to fight.
What about the 5th base instead of taking the 4th, or is that
this?
Yeah.
It would be hard too.
Too hard?
Yeah. Like everywhere is hard because there is always some kind of chokes that Zerg can use, just like Protoss in early game. They use force fields in the small areas. So MaNa did a great job with all of the Zealots, but I mean right now, he needs to prioritize the defense of this attack, otherwise he cannot win. So he kept on warping the Zealots. He's actually supply block here for a second because of losing his force base. In the meantime, TLO, he recognized he had a good window to press on here. He was aware that MaNa kept on warping Zealots in those bases, so he kept enough links here to defend that. And because of that, this army did not have links in support, and since MaNa does not have, actually he does have Storm. He has a couple.
Yeah,
he
he uses a bunch of storms.
Yeah, so I guess this was okay. This was even better by TLO to not bring all of those links, but they could have done something, I guess, to help this army. So MaNa, he finally decides to go for it here. And
yeah, right when his Vortex is ready.
TLO sees this coming and starts pulling back. We thought we were going to see a Vortex here, but nice fungal on time.
I think if he hadn't gotten that fungal, he could have Vortexed all the Broodlords. He probably would have won this battle very decisively, actually.
And now the problem of TLO is that he's off creep, and Broodlords are very slow, so are Infestors. So MaNa is just going to be able to chase down the army of TLO and kill most of it, kill all of it.
Yeah.
But behind this, 47 probes for MaNa. He does not have a third base anymore. He only has these minerals left, which really is not much.
Right.
Hell to the long distance mining, Jarrett. I know you like it. And MaNa is going to be able to kill this army here, as I said. But behind this, TLO is already starting to remake his entire army. He's going for 10 Corruptors, Zerglings, Infestors, and he's just going to be able to remake too much from there. And MaNa, he did not even attack after this. I mean, like a couple of Zerglings doing some damage here. But his army supply was 77 to 77, but TLO, he has such a strong economy still.
Yeah, there's no way for MaNa to really remax and keep up with him, especially without the third. Maybe if he had the third, then you're only down like one base, but just too much. It feels like in these games, the macro games between MaNa and actually almost every Zerg that's gone late, is MaNa's late game control is always better than the Zergs. He wins fights where he's down like 50 supply, and it doesn't even make any sense. He's always right where he needs to be with his mothership. He's getting vortexes, he's blinking in when it's appropriate, he's storming, and he almost always wins those late game fights, but because he is so far behind economically, he's not able to take the game. I feel like if MaNa, I was MaNa right now, that would kind of be the thing that I would be focusing on. It's like, if I can get to late game on better terms, I'm gonna win. I'm better than he is in the late game, in these army battles. I just don't have the money to make it happen.
Well, he's down 2-1. He's on the ropes. One more loss, and he's out. What's going through his head right now, especially in front of the 10,000 people here?
He's got to do it.
He's missing something right now in those games. He needs to do something better. And there's actually a few things he can do better. But like overall, he definitely needs to play a little bit better, especially his early game. I feel he always loses his scouting probe. So he needs to work on that. And if he can just focus on the small details and hit better timings, because now this was really the big timing, the first big timing where he moved out, so where he lost all of his army. If he can do that better, he has a real shot at winning against TLO.
Yeah, no, MaNa can totally take this.
Well, I hope he takes game 4, because even more than long distance mining, I love when games go to the last set. All right, the players are in the game, the casters are ready, the fans are definitely ready. Give it one big cheer for MaNa. He's got to win.
MaNa!
So many people. All right, we're going to go into the game. Take it away, casters.
Thank you very much, guys. An amazing analysis once again, QXC and Todd. And we are now into the next game. It is going to be on Daybreak. Yeah. Quite excited for this one. Of course, we do know the current score. MaNa is trailing with 1 win to TLO's 2 in a best of 5.
And the German player starts on Daybreak in the bottom left. In blue for TeamLiquid.net, it is TLO. Down 1 game already in the best of 5 series. He needs a win here. He needs your support, Poland. To the top right, we have the Polish player. It is Mousesports MaNa.
Once again, crowd behind MaNa, as that's what he really needs here, because he has to win here on Daybreak. This game is a must win. There is nothing else on his mind other than beating TLO here, and we're about to find out, is this possible? How is he going to do it? Is TLO going to make mistakes? Because I don't really think he is. He was looking so calm, collected, and confident with Rhett.
And TLO prepared a lot, and he got help. MaNa, if you remember the games that he played yesterday against Zerg on this map, started with the Stargate. And the position for the Stargate was very, very interesting. Usually if you go for a Phoenix build, you build starting at the bottom left, just to use this for example now, we have usually the Stargate to the bottom left corner, tucked away so that the Overlords can't scout. But because MaNa knew exactly about the scouting pattern of most Zerg players, about the Overlord positioning, he instead built his Stargate to the bottom right of his Nexus. And I actually talked to TLO and I saw him play, and he got a few hints from his brother and from other fans. They just sent him screenshots of exactly the positioning that MaNa used against Zerg. So he looked at it and he was like, whoa, that's interesting. I would never have expected a Stargate to be there. So in this game, you will definitely see TLO scout this position because he knows that this is one of the spots where MaNa likes to go for a hidden Stargate.
Yeah, he does. MaNa does like Stargate play on this map. TLO knows that. So we'll see if he's going to use that information to his advantage. Of course, TBO, the big one, supporting the little one with everything he does, helping him out, trying to give him the best possible edge to be able to bring down such a fierce opponent like mousesports MaNa.
And you know, in a tournament grid like this, preparation is everything. If you know exactly the scouting patterns of your opponent, what kind of opening he uses, you can use that to your advantage so well. This is one of the reasons why SC was able to win against Parting in the Iron Squid tournament. And Parting, I talked to him afterwards, he said, yeah, you're right, I actually have to change my builds a little bit. At this point, I'm too predictable with my openings. So this is something that players have to constantly think about. First Overlord scout for TLO now coming into the main base, and MaNa with this one probe tucked away at the bottom left.
I can't believe that's got in there.
Yeah.
This could be MaNa's game plan now, because usually you have a game plan and then you say, wait a minute, I may be able to get my probe in here, and if it is in there, everything now changes.
Yeah.
Depending on if TLO figures something out, maybe he sends something there, but it's very unlikely that you're going to send anything there. So this could be massive, and already we see the +1 being researched to upgrade his zealots.
This is one of the things where MaNa won a game at DreamHack Summer because he had his probe in his opponent's main base, and initially you most likely just looked at it, was like, okay, cool, I get a scout out of this. But then, as time passed and the probe wasn't scouted, he just looked at it and was like, well, my gateway research and my warp gates are done. The probe is still there. With the pylon here, I can warp in these units and I can just completely take him down. He's not really going for the gateways just yet. We have him with a Stargate in a completely different position, by the way. Yeah. So this probe at the bottom left could decide the game, depending on when or if TLO scouts it at all.
And once again, all 4 gases taken relatively fast here. What is MaNa gonna do? The crowd is silent at the moment, just waiting to see the strategical choices made by both players. How is this game going to develop? The first gas from TLO, of course, the Vespian guys is taken at 6 minutes, allows him to get speed straight away. He has Overlords in position to scout. He's poking in on the edge of the main base, the edge of the natural, looking. Does he see the Robo in that position? He's looking right next to the Nexus. He doesn't see anything. He turns around. He goes in the main base with both.
He saw the probe. He just saw the probe. Overlord to the bottom left. No, it's actually the Queen walking over there. So he saw it. No warp in pylon possibility for MaNa. TLO is safe for now.
And TLO looking vividly. What tech does MaNa have? And now he's found out it is Stargate. Now behind this, Spore Crawlers come down. He's going to start droning probably behind this as well, because he knows that obviously Phoenix is, he's not going to have any ground force. MaNa's thrown all his units into the air. And now we are about to see how much damage MaNa can do. It was revealed relatively early.
First Spore Crawler is now on the production tab, and yeah, he couldn't hide it. He's trying to hunt down a few Overlords, also limiting the scouting information for TLO. And this is why Phoenixes are so awesome in the early game. You get scouting information, you can take down Overlords, deny your opponent the scouting abilities, and then you do damage to the economy. You force him to get Spore Crawlers, he has to prepare, most likely also with extra Queens, and this is just brilliant. If you're careful with how you use those Phoenixes, you will be able to use them later on against Infestors, lifting units, so it's great and very versatile unit.
That's right, and the infestation pit should come down very shortly here.
Look at that, we have a War Prison. Is he going? You know, we had this strategy played by JYP, starting with a Stargate, going for a few Phoenixes, taking down Overlords everywhere on the map, denying scouting, go for the War Prison, move into the main base, and then suddenly just bam, force field on the ramp, and everything is exposed.
Absolutely, but there are Zerglings on that Zeltnog tower, which makes this more difficult. Remember, MaNa is still building probes, so he does have a very comfortable probe point here, who will most likely look to expand with this amount of probes, but there, the sentries loaded into the Warp Prism.
of avoiding the Xel'Naga Tower, or is he? I think he just about is. Look at that, avoiding it, and MaNa is darting to the main base.
Yeah.
TLO has no idea at the moment. Is he going to be able to land this force field?
I don't really think that he's aiming for the ramp, or is he? Now he changed the path of the wall prism. Yeah, sometimes players just try to go into the mineral line and trap those drones, but at this point he could really go for it. There are no overlords for the reason that we mentioned, the Phoenix opening, and there it is, bam, the force field, and now suddenly TLO is in so much trouble.
He has 1-1 on his Lings though, but he can only build Lings from his main base. MaNa's locked TLO out. If he can keep the force fields down, he can do damage. The drones are coming. The Zealots have to get in there to do damage. Another force field needs to go down. MaNa is doing it. Yes, he gets another force field. He will need to put down another one in a couple of seconds' time, though.
He needs the force fields and he needs the warp in, but he cancels his plan. And yes, the force field is there. The first sentry surrounded, but the drone count is dwindling. He killed 15 already. Back at home, Immortal saving his wall if there is a run by, which is not the case. TLO will not be able to easily break through, but look at this damage done in the main base to the German Zerg player.
Yeah, a lot of damage has been done. The force field, oh no, there's no force fields left. MaNa cannot force field again, I don't think. The sentries go down and TLO breaks through. He needs to get another force field, but it's too late. The Lings are in. Will the Zealots be able to hold on? Remember, the Lings have 1-1 here.
The Lings have 1-1. The Zealots are fighting, are trying to pull this off. The force field too late for MaNa. Still a lot of damage done, but what a game. 19 harvesters killed. MaNa still with a huge amount of minerals and gas that he can use now. And those Phoenixes, they are still going at it, taking down overlords, doing more damage to the Zerg player. Actually moving back now, trying to assist with the defense before taking down those crucial overlords.
That's right, the Robo base come down so we can start to go to Colossus to deal with the Ling Roast to take a third base. Now TLO, if TLO wants to close this up, all he needs to do, delay MaNa taking a third base for as long as physically possible while droning, getting 2-2, getting the infestation pit, taking a fourth base. All this needs to happen now from TLO. MaNa has to break out here. He has to take a third base soon, otherwise he's going to fall too far behind after this initial damage.
60 versus 60 harvesters. Here comes TLO trying to pressure, but the Immortals are there. 2 of them just now, the third one about to leave the robotics facility. We have a lot of sentries. TLO won't be able to break in there, but MaNa has to save himself a third base. To the top left, we now see a fourth mine cancelled by MaNa, able to just pressure his opponent once more with the warp prism, with those warp ins, and MaNa is getting into position again.
This is so good for MaNa to get the warp prism, to bring TLO away from MaNa's front wall. This will allow him to expand. This is super good play from MaNa here. Like I said, if he wasn't able to break out, TLO would get too far ahead, and now he's done that. Now MaNa takes his third base. Now he has +2. He has a second Robo coming down Caldor. He's going to build as many Colossus as possible before about 3 minutes time from here, before the Greatest Spy is ready, and he's going to nail a push once again. He's going to nail a timing. The Hive hasn't even begun yet. TLO's not even gassing his main base. I guess it doesn't really matter because he has 1,200 in the bank, but that's still a crucial mistake.
What a great game. I really love this. So entertaining and so technical. MaNa opening with those Phoenixes, denying scouting. That gives him the chance to fly with the Warp Prism into the main base, undetected, dropping those force fields. TLO with a good defense, timing his attack with the drones so well. No chance for MaNa to continuously keep those force fields up. And now the fourth base, again denied by MaNa. Those Zealots over there are so important.
Yeah, but he cannot be in the open field here because the Infestors are about to pop. If he was on the Xel'Naga Tower, he could risk losing everything. He needs to defend this third base. He's out of position at the moment, and it looks like TLO's going to come through. MaNa needs to move his units down immediately. If he loses this third base, he could absolutely fall so far behind and could not recover. He has to defend it. He cannot let this go down.
The force fields have to be there. TLO is trying his best. It's so close, but the Nexus...
it goes down, and that is so big for TLO. He could not let that go down. He was out of position with his units. He should have had a Zealot on the Xel'Naga Tower. His units should have been on the third base. They were on the natural. That was bad play from MaNa, and that stings a lot.
He loses his third base. He did not do all these things. Now he goes for double Colossi production. He has these units out on the map, but the economy for him really suffered after this loss of the third base. He's rebuilding it immediately, hanging around with those Phoenixes at the Xel'Naga Watchtower, trying to take those few roaches down, going into pulling +3 attack. But TLO is claiming his fourth. He's going for a fifth base. He's dominating the middle of the map now, and still trying to just keep MaNa with his soft contain, going for the third again, trying to flank. Here comes MaNa with all those Colossi. And remember, we don't have any Corruptors just yet. We don't even have a Spire.
The Spire's only just started. So if MaNa can get an engagement right in the next couple of minutes, he could still win this game despite not having a third base. TLO is doing everything. As soon as he saw the Colossus, he literally said, holy crap, Caldor, I don't have anything to prevent. The force field is great. Oh, if he can get another one there.
Oh my god,
he
if
can't
he can
the
trap
Colossus
those! He's trying to kill those rocks, but here come those roaches! He's losing everything here! He's losing everything, the roach!
TLO just lost his army, Caldor, and he's building 18 more roaches. This is it. If MaNa's going to win this game, if MaNa's going to draw this series up, he has to go right now. He has to get over the other side. He doesn't have much time left.
He has to go for it. He's moving out. He has those Colossi. He has 4 of them. He's moving in. The Spire is not even done just yet. And MaNa, with 100 army supply against 111, is going for it. Only roaches for TLO. 10 Infestors. That's all that he has. We have range on those Colossi. And here we go. The force fields are being dropped by MaNa. Here come the Infestor Terrans. MaNa is doing his best, trying to whittle down the number of Infestor Terrans. And at the same time, another force aiming for the third of MaNa once again. He needs to end it now.
He's about to have +3. He needs to focus. He needs a Chronoboost. He cannot lose that Colossus to the front either. And he needs to keep making units. He still has the chance to push through. Even if he loses his third, it's not as important as you'd think. He needs to push with the army. He has the army to beat TLO here. He can do it.
He can do it, and he blinks forward. He kills this hatch. He needs to move into the natural, I feel. And he does it. He's moving in right now. Poland is cheering for MaNa to take game 4, to bring it to a 5th game. Here come the Infestors trying to use the choke point to their advantage, trying to funnel all those units walking up. The Immortals at the back are being attacked by those roaches. But MaNa is up the ramp. He's up the ramp. He's ahead. GG!
Oh, what a crazy game from MaNa. The crowd is on their feet. MaNa just pulled that game from behind. That was absolutely explosive. I hardly need to say a thing after that game. You all witnessed that. GG.
That was amazing. That was really, really awesome. What a sick game that we saw from the beginning, the opening alone, and then into this late game scenario. TLO losing his army when he tries to pressure the natural of his opponent, all those force fields trapping the roaches, and then MaNa just going for it, carrying this momentum in his opponent's main base into the heart of the swarm.
Oh, what a game, guys. MaNa has drawn it up 2-2. The next game will decide who moves on in the Intel Extreme Masters here in Katowice. I cannot believe how close this series is, and it's going to the final game. And we're going to pass it over to the analysis in a couple of seconds' time here to hear the thoughts of Todd and QXC.
But not Jared.
Oh my God, man, my heart cannot take it. Being here is absolutely incredible. Not only are there 10,000 people freaking out, there's actually hundreds, if not thousands more outside that couldn't get into the venue. They're watching this on the big screen in the snow. Hi to all you guys out there. Game 5 is coming up. Man, I'm still goosebumped. They won't go down. It's absolutely amazing, dude.
That was...
let's relive it, man.
So sick. Okay. Such good play by MaNa.
Yeah, so MaNa, he opened Phoenixes, which is very standard on Daybreak. There is a huge space between the bases. You can do a lot of maneuver, go around, snipe some drones, force spores, sometimes force even Hydralisks. And behind this, it's very standard to go for Robo, but MaNa, he did not choose this path this game. He went for the drop with the War Prism and a couple sentries, and he really tried to do as much damage in the main of TLO with this. And man, this was so close. So now we see the War Prism coming into the main. TLO, he sees this, but in the meantime, those Phoenixes are over there. They were basically bringing the attention. Yeah, they're distracted.
It was really, really smart by MaNa. Uses the Phoenixes to distract TLO, because once you get the first force field down, it's very hard for the Zerg to recover. They can get some units up the ramp.
Exactly.
So he uses the Phoenixes, gets the force field.
The worker count at this point was 63 for TLO and 58 for MaNa, who did a very good job of continuously making probes behind this. He did not overcommit to this. And MaNa is going to do a lot of damage here. He's going to kill so many drones actually. This almost went really wrong here. He's already on 8 worker skills. And he ends up killing so many of those.
Yeah. Kills basically all the drones in the main almost.
And I feel like He could have ended the game here, but at some point...
yeah, there was just a little bit of a mistake where he loses the sentry, isn't able to get that next force field down.
He lost the sentry that had the most energy, and then he remakes 2, but they're a bit too far. Oh, they stopped for a second. So TLO, he ends up going up the ramp here. He has enough units to hold this, but MaNa is still trading with his 1-1 zealots against those Zerglings. And behind this, TLO is going to have 14-8 drones 47 against 58 probes. MaNa, he already has his robo, so he started making immortals. Or even earlier than that, which is very smart. So he's just gonna go into a third from there. Go for 2 robo and Colossus. And TLO, he does not have the economy to go into a force base, go into infestors and that Brood Lord combo he really needs. So after that, it was basically over. MaNa, he just got a lot of Colossi. He got close to 200 supply, he hit a big timing, and I mean, when you have this army with a lot of Colossi and a lot of grounds, you can't really lose to a tier 2 Zerg army, so it was... there was nothing TLO could do.
TLO did a pretty good job of denying the third during the course of this game and keeping MaNa kind of on 2 bases, but it wasn't enough.
Yes.
MaNa just kept rebuilding it, he kept playing solid, and then probably my favorite move of this game, which we're going to get to in a sec, was the Roaches do the run by at the third, and if you're kind of panicking, we can go into the replay now. If you're kind of panicking or you're not thinking with a clear head, you're like, oh my god, the Roaches, like they're going to my third, and now I just need to chase them with all of my army, which you kind of have to do, but then the Roaches have to escape somewhere, and I just love this. This was such a deciding moment in this game. Yes, up until this point, MaNa had an advantage, but force fielding all of these Roaches and then cleaning them up like it was nothing. MaNa barely lost any units here, and this was all because he kept a clear head. He understood the situation. He knew that TLO had to come out somewhere where there was no other option. There was no other way to escape. He keeps this walled off so he can't go into his main. Boom. Cleans up the army, goes on to take the game. I'm so excited for Game 5.
We could not have asked for a better series to open up Day 3 of the Intel Extreme Masters. The Intel Extreme awesome today. I want to be goosebumped all over again, man. I can't wait for the next game to start. It's on Ohana.
Yeah. I would expect, I think MaNa heard me. I think he did. He was like, QXE is right.
He's watching right now?
QXE,
No, I was kidding.
he gave me the knowledge. MaNa's like, you know what, forget these passive macro games. TLO cuts too many corners. And I think that was part of what prompted him to do that Phoenix Sentry play, because that was phenomenal. It worked so well against TLO's style, where he's kind of, TLO's like, all right, I'm at 3 bases, I'm gonna go up to 5 bases now. And so that was really good. I would expect to see something like that from MaNa in this game as well.
Well, I hope so, because it was unbelievably exciting. The players are in the game. We're ready. We're going to give it over to the casters, and we're going to sit here and cheer and scream our heads off.
Thank you once again. That was an amazing analysis, and in the heat of the moment, even we didn't see that single sentry. That was probably, so far, if not for the entire tournament, play of the tournament. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. This was really, really awesome, as was the last game just in general, and now we are heading into the game that we all wanted. The 5th game between TLO and MaNa here at IEM, and this is only the first best of 5 of the day.
All right, let's go ahead and introduce our 2 players down here. For the last game of this series, it is Liquid TLO.
And to the top left of the map, the last map in this series, we have the Polish player. He needs your support, he needs your cheers, Poland. It is Mousesports MaNa!
Once again, the crowd behind their favorite player here. MaNa has represented Poland amazingly for a very, very long time within StarCraft, and already we have a 13 pool by TLO.
TLO changing things up a little bit, usually go for the 15 pull, the 14 pull. This time he's going for it a little bit faster. We are on Ohana, and this time this is not going to be a family-friendly map. This is going to be death, blood, and slaughter. No inch given by any of these players. They will both just go to the last unit to make this happen, to advance in the tournament to the next round.
You are so right. This is not a clean map to play the last map on. This will end in blood one way or the other. It's a small map. It's contained. You can see aggressive plays from both sides here because it's so small. There's less reaction time. It's faster to deploy your aggressive tactic because it is smaller. So we could all see this build together, but who is going to be the one to do that?
You know, this is a map that is good for Protoss. You can take this third base, but you can also go for the 2-base timing attack, and MaNa has shown us both plays in the past. He really likes to put aggression onto the Zerg player at the third, at the bottom left, trying to go for this choke point position that you can abuse a little bit, where you get into a great position. It's difficult for the Zerg to engage you. Then you walk down the ramp and you go into the third. And the one thing that MaNa is really good at is just his positioning, his zoning out, his force fields, just trying to get in that spot that will win him a game.
And, you know, I have to repeat what QXC said. To have the composure at that point of the game when you are behind, to leave that sentry to just a force field, that, as mentioned, for me, play of the tournament. That was amazing to see. Just so smart, just calm, collected. The roaches have to come out at one point, and to say that in the heat of the battle is a champion move. And if he comes to win this series now, it could all come down to that single sentry, that single force field. But of course, we have to focus on Ohana. Is he going to be able to beat Liquid TLO on this map?
He starts once again with his Forge first play, going into this expansion, TLO with his third hatch on the map, trying to break down those rocks. And for MaNa, it's time to drop the Cybernetics core, and then we'll see what kind of tech choice he's going for. Immortal push, strong on this map.
Yes.
Third base attempt, you can do it. You can also start with the Stargate. You can do whatever you want as a Protoss player. So many options, and TLO, it's his job now to find out what exactly MaNa is going to choose.
That's right, and to be honest, we always look at the Protoss player, what decisions is he going to make? Is TLO going to get the right scouting information? Because if he doesn't, is he going to cut drones too early if MaNa plays a macro game? Is he going to start droning heavily if he's not? So it's going to be very important for TLO to pick up the correct information to make the right decisions, because if he doesn't, then things can get out of control very fast.
And he's already putting all his overlords into position. We have one at the bottom left of the map. We have the other one to the top right. He's trying to find out what MaNa is going to do now that his Cybernetics core is done. +1 attack already on the production tab. We have the Warp Gate research. What is going to be his choice of tech? TLO to the bottom right now, adding additional gas. He goes for all these queens. He's trying to play the stable game that we saw in the last few maps that won him 2 maps already.
He's not cutting any corners here. He's not delaying his gas. Exactly at 6 minutes, boom, goes the gas, because he needs to get the speed out ASAP. And we've seen the tech choice from MaNa. It is not a Stargate. It is not a Twilight Council. It is the robotics facility.
The robotics facility once again, but after he starts the +1 attack. So this is not a parting immortal push. He delays it a little bit, and now with the Twilight Council on the tab, you already can see that he wants to go most likely for third base here, trying to secure himself a third with Blink, with the Immortals out for the defense.
And we saw 10 links being made, and to be honest, that may be a bit of an overreaction there from TLO. That's, you know, links that he obviously needs to break down the rocks, but what else does he need? He doesn't have as many drones as he would do. Look how many links are out at the moment. For what? And that goes back to the point before. Does TLO cut drones too early and starts making units if MaNa is doing anything crazy here? And, you know, I think that he may have built too many links here. I think he could have had a better drone income and saturation by this point.
He sacked a lot of lava for this, and this is less drones, but now he's trying to move out, maybe pressuring a potential third base, trying to get in there delayed for as long as possible, but we have now a lot of drones coming up for TLO. So behind this early link aggression, behind this reaction, we see him with the drones, with the harvesters, going into lair. And MaNa now with +2 on the production tab, adding additional gateways. He wants to get his third base now. TLO just waiting for the probe to move out and claim this nexus.
Definitely looks like definitely is a third base play here for MaNa. He's not going to risk it on a 2-base push. He knows that this is his tournament life. He's going to take a third. And then where does he go from there? Is it a 3-base timing? Does he take gas there, and so on and so on? These are the things we're going to have to see. But as he takes this third, which he should be doing, he will then start to get the robotics bay down, to start to build a big army from that. But at the moment, he isn't building probes. I think that's just because he wants to afford the nexus. You know, it is 400 minerals, and he is at 51 at the moment. He's thrown down an extra gateway, though, to complete the wall off, so that he only has to worry about this third base.
And this is also something that QXC mentioned earlier, this mindset that MaNa might just go in, because we saw amazing trades for him. on Entombed Valley. With such a small force, he was able to take down a huge army of TLO. So if he gets into this late game position with a good economy, he might have the edge here. We have him with +2 nearly done, and he's still not building a Nexus, nor does he build any additional probes. He's still at 51. Moving down now, holding down this pile and waiting with the probe, so he wants the third, and there it is.
It is a very
Nexus
safe
being
third.
built, a very, very safe third.
Very
So right.
cautiously taking it, and he should want to start probe production soon, but he is kind of pushing into blink. We'll see. I mean, he doesn't necessarily need to build probes to go up to take this third. As we saw earlier on in this tournament, he built the third but pushed out with it, and he is starting to build probes now. He has a Warp Prism on the way. He has a very strong army at the moment.
Yes.
3 Immortals is not weak, especially with +2, especially with Blink.
+2 and Blink. He could just go for it. He could start to push out. He has the options here. Still no probes for MaNa.
Yeah.
He's currently still waiting, but here comes TLO. He's too late with a +2. He won't be able to cancel it. Where are the force fields? 2 are good, but only trapping 1 Roach. He can kill the Forge, but +2 is done.
Yeah, +2 is already done here. Another Forge has started. MaNa still hasn't started building probes here. And as Todd said earlier, when you don't build probes, you're able to throw all that money into an army here.
And that's
I
what he
think
does.
That's what he's doing here, Caldor. It looks like he's going to start to move out as Blink is ready. The robotics bay thrown down, and that throws a curveball in.
Yeah.
That confuses me a little bit. But remember, with this push, he can always fall back onto his third base. He doesn't need to commit to it over heavily, and he can always fall back on Colossus here. But he's definitely looking to do something. Probes immediately start now. But in that time where he didn't build probes, he built a massive, large army here.
He has currently 58 army supply against 91. TLO trying to go for a run by the probe, sees what's going on. He knows about the position of the Zerg player. The Warp Prism is already going to the bottom left, and he warps in 3 additional Zealots. He started the +3 attack upgrade. The Zealots going straight for the hatch, not even bothering trying to take down a Queen or maybe dealing with these Roaches here. He wants to damage the hatch, moves back with the Warp Prism while saving his third base. TLO always looking for an opening here, but suddenly heavily supply blocked as well.
And the crowd once again trying to get behind their Polish player. As you can hear, they are really behind him, and he is going to go in with the Warp Prism here, try to do some damage. He's got Colossus on the way, he's got +3 on the way, and I think very shortly we're going to see +3 join together for an assault.
33 Banelings for TLO, a massive, massive amount of them, and this will mean that MaNa needs perfect force field.
Yeah.
Banelings are awesome if you can. There's the Overlord drop. If you can really drop those Banelings, if you can get them in position, they're worth so much. But with a good stutter step, with good force field, with good micro, you can always try to make those Banelings completely useless. But this is going to be so difficult for MaNa in this position.
TLO without Infestors, without looking long term here, has thrown all his gas into Banelings.
Yes.
This is almost a must. He has to do something with this attack.
And
he's about to break through here. We are going to have to see a lot of control by MaNa. He's got so many Stalkers in the main base. Oh dear me, he doesn't really know what's going on here from TLO. He has absolutely no idea. He's got so many units left out of the way. They do come back. Oh, the Overlords.
Here we go. The sentries are gone. The sentries are gone, and TLO is moving in. MaNa is doing his best here, sniping Overlord after Overlord, trying to put those Colossi in a good position. Down to 100 supply against TLO's 200. He's maxing out again, going for the Spire right now. MaNa is being pushed back as TLO runs up the ramp at the natural and is pushing those Stalkers further back in the game.
Wow, what an assault here by TLO. He's not MaNa down to 80 supply before +3 is ready, before Thermalance is ready. TLO comes. I can't believe this attack just worked. It destroyed the third, it's destroyed the army. And TLO maybe, or looks like he's moving on from this point, Caldor.
What an onslaught. The third is gone, and MaNa is pushed beyond belief. He is down to 70 supply, 100 supply less than his opponent. He's trying to hold the natural somehow. He lost so many harvesters already. 24 have been killed. He's down to 37. He's pushing TLO back here, but the fight, I think this is already it. With only 66 supply left, no third base, it looks like TLO is going to end MaNa's dreams. He's dancing his roaches.
He knows that he's about to beat MaNa once again here, and it looks ever so likely as MaNa struggling to get another Colossus out last minute. 2 Colossus will provide him the defense to beat these roaches down for sure, but where do you go from here? You've lost Roach, you've lost the third, and TLO has 5 bases on 177 supply as well. And it looks like we have our analyst coming out of the game at the last second there. I don't know what's going on with this, but Unfortunately,
at this point, we have 61 supply against 177. TLO with the second force is now at the ramp to the natural. The third is gone. TLO is on 5 bases at this point. 4 of them are saturated, and here we go, back in the game. The GG by MaNa. It is Liquid TLO who takes the first best of 5 of the day after a valiant effort of the young Polish player.
And the crowd behind MaNa, despite that loss there, TLO moves on to play IEM first. They are friends, as you can see. A congratulations hug comes out from MaNa.
A great series.
A great series, the best series of the Intel Extreme Masters so far. And this is only the first game of the day. There is a lot more StarCraft coming your way.
The first game of the day, TLO is happy, a well-deserved win. But on the other hand, of course, sad for MaNa here, but a great series as mentioned before. The first best of 5 of the day, and we have a lot more StarCraft for you guys. But before we head into the next matches here, we're giving it up to the analyst desk once again, finding out what they have to say about the final match of the best of 5.
What a series. Maybe not the outcome that all the fans here wanted, but a great series. Every StarCraft fan in the world should be happy. They just spent their time watching that. A little unfortunate, but because we crashed out of the game, we don't have a replay to analyze, but fortunately QXC has a photographic memory and is going to walk us through step by step what happened.
I think Todd's going to walk us through what happened.
Okay, first of all, sorry about that, guys. I did not rage quit because Protoss lost. We see on the screen right now, actually, that the Polish fans really showing some support for MaNa. He's very emotional as well.
Yeah,
and he played very well.
A lot of composure right now.
Yes.
There are a lot of players who, after losing like that, they would not be able to interact with the crowd at all.
Yes, like me. Good job to MaNa anyway. He went far, he played well, but it wasn't enough. Coming back to the game, TLO, he played this so well, but I feel like MaNa, he really had a window where he could have won. He basically went for a third base. He cut probes for the longest time at 51, and I really thought that MaNa was going to hit the same timing as in the first game.
Yeah, it really...
TLO with just a couple probes and try to kill TLO for going for too many drones. He was on 75 drones. You think it would have worked?
I don't know if it would have worked, but it definitely felt like that was what he was doing. It was a little confusing to watch because you could see some of the numbers, like you said, the low probe count, which you're like, okay, so he's going to do a 2-base timing, right? And he's going to fake a third. But then his strategy didn't really line up with that.
And TLO, he went himself for a very aggressive strategy. I think he was planning this maybe the whole time.
Yeah.
He wanted to go for a lot of approaches and then a big attack with a lot of mailing dropped. And against this, you need to be in a good position out on the map. You need to start engaging against this army. You need to start force fielding, and then you need to pull back, snipe the overlords, pull back, snipe overlord, pull back, snipe overlord. Because the overlords are not that fast, really. And I think it was Naniwa who did this the first time, and I was really like, wow, this is actually hard to micro against bailing drops. And this makes the strategy so much worse than it will be if you just stand there. But the problem for MaNa was that he was on his third base. He had much less army than TLO already.
Yep.
His stalkers were out of position, and in the end, as soon as I saw the attack arriving, I knew already that TLO had won.
I really like this strategy from TLO. The game on Entombed, we saw him go up to 3 bases, and then he double expands, and he goes into Hive Tech. The game on Ohana, instead of, he does the same kind of like 3-base saturation, double expand, but then instead of droning those other 2 bases, he just goes for huge layer timing. It's just a really interesting kind of deceptive strategy, take your opponent off guard if they expect you to play the same way.
Very good point. And TLO looked so happy here. He really deserves this. He's practicing hard, and it's really showing these days. Like I said before, he's been playing so much better than he would at some points.
Yep, he looked very solid.
Every time I see TLO in a tournament these days, he always goes far, plays really well, and then barely loses to some players.
Yep.
So actually, TLO is going to be facing first next, right?
Yes.
It's going to be such a sick match. First is so good.
Yeah. We'll have to see. TLO's style is we saw him do some pretty unique stuff, like that Mass Ling style. I'd like to see him do that against first. See how that works.
Well, the quarterfinal is going to start at 6:30.
Yep.
The next game is Kaz versus Lucifron, the first TVT of the tournament. At least one of those guys is the best Terran in Europe. and that's going to be sick. And all hope is not lost for the Poles. They have one left.
Yep, Nurcho is going to face Daisy later today.
Acer Nurcho versus Daisy is coming up right after Kaz versus Lucifron. I think we're going to see this crowd go even more mental as it's all on the line for them.
Yep.
And then Yoda versus Grubby later on.
Yes, that will also. There's a lot of really good matches today, guys.
All of them are good matches.
I'm very excited. None of the Terrans have been eliminated yet, so this is really a good day for me.
Not such a great start for us.
One of them is going to be eliminated.
I know, but it's a sacrifice.
Okay.
It is not in vain. A TVT sacrifice. They show us the greatest matchup in the world.
You know, a Terran won the last Intel Extreme Masters in Singapore. Did you know that?
Yeah. Sting took out Grubby in the finals.
The cutest Terran ever. He's adorable, that guy. Have you ever met him?
No.
Oh, man. I'm not gay, by the way. I can identify an adorable guy. That's
Based on some of your other comments, I never, ever had any, I believe you. I don't think you're gay.
All right, well, we're going to go to a quick commercial break before we come back with more epic StarCraft 2 action. Do not go anywhere. You don't want to miss it.